This is one of my favorite shirts. I love this show. But hello, welcome, happy Thursday, everyone. And yeah, so if you don't know, I go live on this channel every Thursday, around the same time. Right now it's 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So every Thursday, let's talk about mental health, mindfulness topics, and things that I feel like they should be talked about more. And also the purpose of me going live, sharing this information is to have continuous conversation. And so throughout the live, if you're liking it, then give it a thumbs up, and then also leave some comments below. Let me know how you're feeling about the topic. So today's topic is all going to be dealing all about dealing with burnout, and I have this pin that I'm twiddling around. I have a pen because I'm definitely a writing things down type of person, so I have some notes on this topic to help me keep on track during the video. But anytime, type in the comments what your questions are about this topic, other things that may be a little off topic. Off topic is okay. That you'd want me to answer about previous videos that I've did or the current topic. Um, First and foremost, how's everybody's day today? So far, it's been good. Today in the DMV area, in Maryland specifically, it was warm. And actually, in the beginning of the day, it was not warm. It was like 35 degrees, or it felt like 35 degrees because I had on sweatpants, a hoodie, a thick bomber jacket. I was looking like the Michelin Man for real. Like the bomber jacket was thick. It was a winter coat. And it was necessary because it was cold. Then later on in the day, I went to the park with a friend. And I was like, it was feeling like 35 degrees this morning. I'm like, I'm gonna put on an extra layer, even though it looks sunny. And then it turned around and it felt like 70 at midday. It was like 2 p.m. So I was like, okay, what do we wear? This is the weather. This is like winter, okay? In the morning, it's winter, and in the evening, it's summer. It's kind of crazy. Um, okay, let's get into this topic. The topic today is dealing with burnout. Hi guys. Um, so yeah, I've dealt with this topic firsthand and am actively still working through how to regulate my time, my schedule, even if I don't have a lot of time. Hi, hello, welcome everybody. I did not paint this picture, but I painted this. I did not paint this one. I got this one from a paint and sip, but I painted this, that, and that. Some of the paintings are paintings that I did go to like a paint and sip event because I love going to paint and sip events. And then let's see. This painting, it's abstract. I just painted it off the top of my head. And then also this painting, they gave us like a template of what to paint, but I just veered off the rails. But yes, I love to paint. It's something that I do in my free time. Thank you. I would do it more if I made more time to do it. It is a hobby that is always on the back burner of my hobbies, but I have so many hobbies, like so many hobbies, that it can be difficult to actually carry out all of them. So I have pockets of my life that are for literally, I have a season for this hobby, and then I hop around and have a season for this hobby, and then I hop around and do certain hobbies at certain times of my life. But thank you. I think last week actually we we were on the live stream, we talked about having a weekly artistic expression gathering on my Patreon. So what that would look like is, let me know if this sounds like a good idea to you all. Once a week, we get together on, I don't know, some type of Zoom or something, video call. And you know how you can have like a co-working session, either virtual or in person? We have a creative expression session where we don't have to be talking. I don't have to be talking your head off like I usually am on the live streams, but we can each bring our craft or hobby or something that you do to express yourself artistically. And then we do that for like an hour. And the reason for that is last week I talked about, or we talked about how important it is for your mental to make room and make time for your hobbies, especially if it helps you create, like creatively express something. Because the more you create, the less you're consuming, the less the stimulation from all the things in the world get to you, so you're able to have an outlet to let things out instead of things always being put into you, if that makes sense. So still working on that. Maybe we'll start next week. Maybe I need to stop working on it and actually put it into motion. So yeah, look out for that. That would be on my Patreon, so I'll have to share that with you all. Dealing with burnout. Who's dealt with burnout before? Raise your hand. I'm raising my hand. So I would say the first thing to know about burnout and feeling like your energy is just, the life is just being sucked out of you all the time, right? You raising your hand in the chat. I see you. You being honest. I appreciate honest people. I appreciate honest people for real. Um, we have to talk about boundaries as the foundation of this. Boundaries are the foundation of your interactions with every other human being you're ever going to interact with. I'm talking about friends, family members, people you in relationships with, people you meet at the grocery store and then they accidentally bump their cart into yours and they don't say, "Excuse me." Boundaries are the ways in which we carry ourselves. And if you don't set them before you interact with any human being at all, we will just assume that people will respect us. But it's kind of difficult for people to show us a certain level of respect that we didn't outline for them. Some things in regards of people respecting you, some things are common sense. And then some people don't have common sense. So before we interact with human beings on any type of level, platonic, familial, or romantic, it's so important to set boundaries. Ooh, but let's back up. Before we even get to the boundaries thing, we have to be secure in ourselves and honor and value the time that we spend doing the things that we do. I'm going to give a couple of personal examples for me. Um, However, I was having a conversation with a friend today. We were talking about past relationships that we've had, and they mentioned a toxic relationship that they were in for about probably 4 years. And during that conversation, they mentioned that they realized maybe toward the latter end of the relationship that they kept expecting things out of the person that the person didn't know that was expected of them. And the reason why communication would oftentimes not work well between the two is because expectations and boundaries were set in the person's head, in that person's head, but they did not communicate it to the other person. So it was an assumption that the other receiving person would respect something that you never told them to respect in the first place. And it was only later that they realized they needed to put those things in place and be verbal about them. But in order to be verbal about what you need, the space that you need for yourself, the time that you need to take out for yourself, the the freedom that you need to, whatever. You have to be sure in yourself of what you need and also honor that within yourself. So it's really difficult to expect another person to respect something about you that you don't respect about yourself. Um, I'm definitely going to circle back around. I'm definitely about to circle back around to that. Um, okay. Your yes is more expensive than your no. Meaning, y- time is currency. The time that you spend at work, the time that you spend if you're an entrepreneur, building up your own vision, the time that you spend getting dressed in the morning, the time that you spend on your personal hygiene, the time that you spend driving to and from wherever you're going, all of these things are your currency. And that's why they say time is money. It's expensive. Time is everything, very valuable. Yes. So if you think about how time is, a currency and it's expensive, then the things that you commit to and the things that you say yes to, um, are more expensive than the things that you say no to. And also, when you put energy into giving others your attention, giving others your time, pouring into others, we should see that as a currency even more so because currency is meant to be traded for something. Everything that you spend, you get something back. And it's not in a way of always expecting with your hand out. It's literally that's the whole point of spending money. Before there was physical money, there was trading animals for food or just trading, literally. So whenever you spend time, you are naturally, by the laws of nature, going to get something back, especially when getting older. Yes. The older you get, the less BS you want. And the less BS you tolerate, too. Dag. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. Okay. It's expensive. So, for example, at one time at one point I was in I've had multiple relationships throughout my life so far, but one particular time I did not respect my own boundaries. And so because of that foundation of like me not respecting my own boundaries, I let others disrespect the boundaries that I wanted to have but didn't even put in place for myself. I've always been a person who values my sleep. I still value my sleep. And at the time, maybe after the talking stage, the talking stage when you're getting to know someone, and then, a little bit after the talking stage, things become official. I don't know if that's how relationships still work these days, but either ways, you're spending the time that it takes to get to know that person. So I'm usually not a FaceTime for 3 to 4 to 5 hours type of person. But at the time, a relationship build needs time to build. However, I also in a relationship usually need a lot of free time to be in my own thoughts. So I said yes to a lot of time spent often with boundaries that I wanted to set. For example, I wanted to go to bed at a certain time, let's say 11 p.m. But the other person in the relationship says, but we barely spent any time together this week, and I never get to see you because we're always at work. Da, 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 da. So let's stay on the phone a couple hours. Okay. So, you know, so I say yes. And that yes is me spending, my currency. And it came to a certain point where I realized during that time, work, with trying to build a business, with also being in a relationship. But all three of those things are like full-time jobs. Sometimes being in a relationship also can feel like a full-time job. And it shouldn't, especially at the stage that I was at the time, not even, not living with that person or anything like that, anything serious like that. However, that I had it came a time where I had to realize that my yes, like me saying yes to these things, trains the other person to think that I'm just going to go like that again and again and again. Because if there's a boundary set and then the other person will ask you to bend your boundaries for them. If you say yes, it's kind of like, here's the line, okay? The boundary is you drawing the line. And ties directly into this feeling of burnout that we might have because we don't realize that we're inch by inch pushing back the line so that we're going further to meet another person where they want us. So at first you draw the line, but then you keep saying yes to things that you kind of want to say no to, but you're like, oh, it's just this one time. And then you push back the line. Then you keep saying yes again and again and again to things that infringe upon your boundaries. Then all of a sudden you're burnt out. And it could be with your job, taking on extra projects that you didn't intend to, taking your work home, doing extra things for family members that you didn't intend to, but you feel bad or you feel pity or whatever. Um, and maybe we feel guilty for not giving more of our time, even though our time and our attention, even though we know we have it to give. But over time, saying yes so much that you don't realize how slowly but surely you're burning yourself out because we're saying yes to so many things and that yes is expensive. So our pocket's going to be empty. Like that time is currency. And soon we're going to break the bank. And the thing about burnout is, you want to, hi, you literally want to take a break and retract how much energy that you're putting into something before you reach burnout. You don't want to be at the battery level at 20% and then you're still giving, putting things into it. Because you're like, okay, once I get to 15%, then I'll take a break. Once I get to 10%, then I'll take a break. Then 10% comes and then something else comes up. And then 5% comes and then something else comes up. Then you don't realize slowly but surely, you're on E and then it slaps you in the face. You're like, oh, I didn't even see that coming. It slaps you in the face because we're just going. So, um, yeah, that's my first major thing. Your yes is more expensive than your no. So if you're feeling this burnout, like ask yourself, where are you In which portion of your life are you saying yes to too many things when you should be saying no to? Trading your time and labor for money and body depending on profession like blue collar jobs. Yes, I will say, for example, this is another example I'm going to use. And this is why I'm saying I deal with burnout still, in regulating how much energy I'm spending on things, because I usually have a lot of energy, and the feeling of working hard feels very rewarding to me, just because, working hard feels rewarding to me. Feeling tired at the end of the day feels rewarding to me because I guess I like to feel like I'm being productive. I've always enjoyed being in service-based jobs. Right now, I am working at a stretch therapy clinic. I guess you could call it that. I'm working at a stretch therapy studio, and I'm a stretch therapist. Just imagine a massage therapist, but you're stretching them instead of massaging them, like a Thai massage, basically. I do that throughout the a good amount of the week. I also, and I enjoy doing that, by the way, I also teach yoga classes. Right now, I dialed back on, teaching a lot of classes. Um, I also am very physically active, so I go to the gym 5 days a week at least. But there was one point where I was doing all of those things in excess, plus, working full time and also growing my business and also being consistent here on YouTube, while also teaching yoga classes, and just the things that I do for work are very physical things. And I also like to practice yoga on my free time. And one thing that happens when you're practicing a lot of yoga is you're using your wrists a lot. So at one point I was working my 9 to 5, which was a 9 to 5 for me at the time, for 37 hours a week, you know. And for 37 hours a week, I was physically stretching people, which is a very physical job. For about 2 to 3, I'll say maybe 2 to 4 hours a week, I was teaching yoga classes. And anyone who's ever been a yoga teacher as well, or a teacher of anything, knows that that's a lot of output. Plus, I am recording a lot of content, videos, editing. Most of the things that you see me record, I edit myself. And not to mention other hobbies that I like to have in the background. So with all those things, I started to get some wrist pain because I'm picking up people's heavy legs and stretching them all week. And I ignored it. It was in my right wrist. I started to get some wrist pain. It started actually around 2024, end of 2023. I ignored it. And then the pain got more intense. I still tried to ignore it. It wasn't until I started to realize there was like literally a cyst, it's called a ganglion cyst, growing on my wrist, that I noticed, oh, something ain't right. I looked at my right wrist and my left wrist. I'm like, something ain't right. This ain't supposed to be here. What is this? So I was using my wrists and my body so much and doing so much physical stuff that actually a ganglion cyst grew on my wrist, and it was irritated. So, this is one point I will make. When your body starts to talk to you, you're supposed to listen the first time. It's kind of like ignoring red flags. You know that one relationship, or maybe it's like two, three, four, five relationships. You know, for some of us, it'd be like that. That in all the relationships, there were red flags, and at first. You was like a red flag, you saw it, but you was like, maybe that flag ain't red. Maybe I'm colorblind. Maybe it's really orange. Maybe it's an orange flag. Maybe it's actually yellow. Am I looking hard enough? Maybe it's not red. I'm just let it, I'm gonna just let it go past, and then I'm just gonna ignore it. And then another one comes, a red flag, and another one comes and you ignore it. And you know how like you ignore red flags over and over and over again until that flag is big as hell. That flag, oh, one day it's like a huge red flag. And then you're like, wait, how did we get here? But when you ignore something little by little, and at first it's a whisper, that whisper gradually gets louder until you hear a scream. So it's the same thing that can happen with your body. It happened with my body, and all of a sudden I was like in intense pain all the time. I could no longer really work the same job that I was doing, and I was very passionate about it. And during that time, I actually had to take a break from teaching yoga classes, which I love doing. So unfortunately, that was what I wanted to avoid, you know? I wanted to ignore it so I could keep doing what I love. I love being a stretch therapist. I love being a yoga teacher. I love helping people relax their bodies and their minds and everything. That's literally my whole, I would say there's very distinct other parts of my personality, but that is one of my, I don't think I have one purpose or anybody has one purpose, that but that's part of my purpose, I would say, for lack of better terms, in life. And then I wasn't able to do that one thing, right? And I'm like, what I'm supposed to do now? So at some point, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do, I like to do, had to take a break from it. It made me sad. It made me feel like I was getting away from myself, who I was on the inside. And, but once I took a break from that, though, once I rested, it took a couple of doctor's visits, and also a lot of research on how to rest enough that a cyst doesn't come back, because a ganglion cyst anywhere on your body, usually you get it on your hands, it can be difficult because you like it has what's it called, fluid in it. So I went to the doctors, got it popped, but the doctor actually ended up hitting a nerve in my wrist because the fluid was actually underneath a nerve. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. And that made it hurt more. It was a whole thing. I had to rest, I had to listen, and I also had to do my due diligence. So now I can say the cyst went away because I put some castor oil and oregano oil on it. And then I wrapped it up and then I put heat on it. And I did that like every night. And it didn't even take that long. It took like a week and a half. But anyways, point is when you don't listen to your body, it can come back. It can come back when you as I just want to thank you all so far for like being on this live with me. If you've enjoyed it so far, then give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying this conversation. The energy you give is like water to a plant. The more you pour into something, job, business, relationship, etc., the more it can grow. Exactly. It's like you said, watering a plant. And even the things that even the things that you don't want to happen, um if you think about them, if you think about them enough or give them enough attention, the things that you don't want in your life, you can water those things too, like the negativity and the people who step all over your boundaries or walk all over you. If you're always kind of thinking like, "Oh, I'm afraid of the next person to do that. I'm afraid I'm going to like reach burnout again. I'm afraid that I'll never get free time." All of the things that you're thinking about is exactly what you're going to get, because we water the negative and we water the positive as long as we're giving it energy. And even the things that we give negative energy to, they're gonna grow. So thanks for your comment on that. That is so true. And the next one, gotta be careful what you're watering. Don't want it to grow weeds. Exactly. See, I was thinking that before I even read that comment. Exactly. Right? You don't want weeds to grow. And yeah, you know about weeds because you can't just clip them off. You gotta pull them joints up from the root. You gotta pull weeds up from the root. You can't just pluck, 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 because they gonna grow right back. That's the thing about weeds too. Mm-mm-mm. Okay. I want to tell y'all as well. This is in my notes. The future is a persistent illusion. I'll say it again. The future is a persistent illusion. So some context behind this. I think it was in like one of the self-help books that I've ever read. Either like The Power of Now or what's the other one? What's the other one where the old wise man is talking to the little boy? Is that The Power of Now? I think it is The Power of Now, or it's either that one or The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. So either one of those, I learned that the future is just thoughts, anxious thoughts. The future is anxiety, and the past is like depression. Because like the future, you're anxious about whatever's gonna happen, but there's no way we know what's gonna happen. So all of those things are just projections. And then the past exists only as memories. And sometimes we make the past relevant in our present because we're lingering. And then we also don't want the past to become our future. So oftentimes both of those exist in our mind at the same time, anxiety and depression. So that's why I say the future is a persistent. The illusion that your mind lives in. Um, okay, so the next thing I will say is, what are you escaping from? What are you escaping from? Um, when you feel overwhelmed, burned out, um, thanks for the sub. Yeah, if you're not already subscribed, I'll go live and talk about these type of things every single week. Glad you're enjoying the live so far. So yeah, what are you escaping from? I'll give an example. At work, like I said, I'm a stretch therapist. And because I'm seeing a lot of clients, so each client that I see, I stretch them for about 1 hour. And it's more like a gym than a spa. If you feel the vibe, it's like an open room, the stretch studio. It's like an open room where I am stretching a client, and then 5 feet away on the next row over, on the next bench over, my coworker is stretching their client, and then the next 5 feet over from them, and on and on and on. And all of this is like a big room. So it breeds a lot of like a community feel. And also, I see the same clients every week and they come to me. So over time, I've been working at this specific place on and off for about 3 years. So some of the clients are very familiar with me and I know about their kids and their routines throughout the week and where they go grocery shopping and stuff like that. Because also stretching helps people feel very relaxed. So when people feel very relaxed, they can feel more emotionally safe to talk to you about things. I have a client who she has a daughter and she kind of takes her daughter half of the week and then the daughter's dad takes the daughter the other half of the week. She is very she's very established in her mom role. And um, often helps her daughter with the history homework, the math homework, the soccer practices. And also she drives her daughter plays high-level soccer, and she drives her daughter to different states almost every weekend, or different counties almost every weekend. That's a lot of strain on her body, which is why she comes once a week to me to get stretched. And every week she comes in. Let's just call her Dana. And Dana comes in every week and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm more tight than the last time. I'm so sorry." And she's always very apologetic. And I'm like, "It's okay, Dana. No worries. I'm gonna stretch your neck and your shoulders." And she's like, "I just don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed." And I say, "Dana, how was your day?" She says, "Oh, it was another doozy." And one of the most recent times that I've stretched her, knowing that she usually comes in and she's usually very stressed from her job and the work that she does. The last time that she came in, she actually said, I hired this new employee, and I'm so thankful that I have the means to hire this new employee because I realized I haven't hired someone as an assistant for me in years, and I don't know why." And then she said, "It just occurred to me, I have full control over my schedule during the week. So why do I still feel so overwhelmed?" And I was like, wow. She's having some really intense realizations right now about her life. So, Dana is an entrepreneur. She is a consultant. She has a lot of clients throughout the week. Again, like I said, she's very established in her mom role. And I would say she's a super mom. She drives her daughter to different states or counties every weekend for her daughter's high level soccer games. And she also is an entrepreneur and takes on the roles of, you know, scheduling for her household. But when she realized that she's come in every other week, before this time, complaining about her schedule and saying that she doesn't have time to take out for herself, and then saying that she doesn't have time for self-care, so she comes to me to get stretched. She's now realizing that the reason why she feels stressed isn't because someone else is taking up all her time. It's literally because she is in control of her schedule, and there's something about the lack of doing that she feels like she's not doing enough, or she's always has to go go go, but she's in full control of her schedule. So if she really wanted to, why couldn't she just make it stop? Why couldn't she just take some more things off of her schedule if she's so in control of it? And at that point, she was having like a aha moment. And Dana said, "You know what? This week," she actually asked me this. She said, "Well, how do you do it? How do you turn off your brain?" And I was like, that's such a great question because I actually kind of struggle with this too. And I told her some things, have a routine, create environments in your physical space that kind of force you to settle down at a certain time. Put your phone on sleep mode automatically at 9 p.m. so that you stop getting calls and you stop getting emails. Lock your phone. There's this thing called like a brick. So it's a little block device. Um it's somewhere in the room. I think it's over there. But a brick is a device, like a magnetic device, kind of like when you use Apple Pay, that locks you out of all of your social media accounts that you deem distracted, that you deem a distraction. So what you have to do is download like the app, and this is not a sponsor or anything, like a mention or anything, but literally I use this. You go into the app when they send you this device. You go into the app on your phone, and then you pick all of your social media apps. It can be Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp, Pinterest, whatever you feel like you use too much. Then you just choose those apps. Then you have to tap your phone like you're doing Apple Pay. Tap your phone to the brick, and then it literally locks you out of your apps. But to get back on your apps, you have to physically go up to the brick or you have to have it in your hand and then tap it again so that it can unlock your social medias. So I was telling her about this brick. I'm like, yeah, sometimes at night I get really fidgety and I feel like I automatically scroll, just doom scroll, and it's autopilot. It's an autopilot thing, but you have to train your brain. Yeah, check it out. It's called The Brick. Brick, if you're watching, sponsor me. They're probably not watching, but yeah, it's literally called The Brick. It's a little block. You tap it, it locks you out. So I was like, Dana, why don't you do this? Why don't you do something like this? You literally have to create environments that don't tempt you to keep going. You literally have to block out that time and at some point turn your brain off during the day. And then when you're ready to turn it back on. She was like, "Yeah, I think I'll do that." So I think for some people, we may not realize that we have a lot more control over our lives than we think we do. It's just that we give other people the control that I don't know if we don't want the control or what, but if I were to guess, in Dana's position, she probably she probably thinks that it's easier to blame her tiredness on the fact that she's a mom or the fact that, she has a lot of clients throughout the week. And it's easier to blame or just point fingers at anything outside of yourself as to why you're overwhelmed and have the problems that you do, because you know that if you have that power to change it, and if you put the responsibility, I shouldn't say blame, I should say responsibility. If that responsibility resides solely on us, then it empowers us. And some of us are afraid of being empowered. Some of us are afraid of having that power. Um, I don't know why. If you have an idea of why, then put it in the comments. But, apply this to yourself. I think at some point or another, all of us have pointed the responsibility on how we feel or like how burnt out we are to our job. Be like, my boss keep tripping, keep giving me all these hours, never giving me no raise. Then leave the job. If it's that bad, then leave. But the job market and I can't find no job and da 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 da. Well, those things are true. At the same time, if there's this is just an example that was off the top of my head. If there's something that's bothering us enough, it is my belief that if we just can't take it anymore, there's no use in complaining about it if we can change it. Even if we can't change it, there's no use in complaining about it because we can't change it. And if it's gonna stay the same, you might as well try to like it. Because if it's gonna stay, it's not gonna change, ain't nothing we can do. But if there's something we can do, then do it. Why not do it? But there's something about the human brain that's like, let me point the responsibility on this person. Let me put the responsibility on this thing for my agony, for for my burnout, for my stress. This has caused me stress. That's caused me stress. This isn't right in my life. That person got me messed up. But it's never us though. Why? Probably has to do with actually having to face an issue. That is it. No, that's exactly it. Because if we face the fact that we have more control over how we feel, um, and it may that may have something more to do with wanting chaos or being comfortable in chaos, being comfortable with still having issues, um, and that being a default somewhat. If you're used to being stressed, if you're used to being busy, and you realize you don't have to be stressed, you don't have to be busy, but stress, busyness, and burnout is your default. For some of us, it's literally what we're born into. That can be difficult to unlearn. If you're born into a chaotic environment, and then all of a sudden you realize you can control exactly how chaotic it is. You're like, oh, it's that easy? Maybe it is. Maybe it is that easy, but something else can always come up that makes it not as easy. Yes, things always come up. And then even after we get over one issue, other issues will come up. I think that's even more of a reason to listen to our bodies when our bodies are telling us that we're burnt out. Um, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. Um, yeah, this has been a good talk. Like I said, if you've enjoyed it so far, give it a thumbs up. And I just want to say thank you all for hanging out with me tonight too. I think that's probably all that I have because that's pretty much all I have in my notes for right now. What are some suggestions of what you all want to talk about next week? I will get on live every single week, every single Thursday around this time. Usually for me it's like 8 p.m. or 8:30. Sometimes I might move the time around. But what do you want to see what do you want to talk about next week in terms of mental health, mindfulness, staying grounded, being present in life, owning your happiness, finding more joy, peace, relationship wise, um, social anxiety. That's a good one. I will screenshot that just so I can remember. Okay. No, thanks for that. That's a good one, actually. Social anxiety. Definitely, let's talk about that next week. So, yeah, let's come back next week around the same time. And also, you can always look back at the previous live streams and conversations that we've had. Send this to a friend, share with a friend who you feel like could use this information and who could pitch into this conversation, or maybe to have conversations like these with your own friends. And yeah, just thanks again for coming on tonight. I hope you all have a great rest of your day or your evening, wherever you are in the world, and hope to see you next week. All right, everybody. Peace.